Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurudevo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening once again to everyone. Let's get started. Today we are going to move on to our next shloka, 4.28. I'm going to recite it and you're welcome to follow along. Dravya Yagyasthapo Yagya Yoga Yagyasthatha Pare Swadhyaya Jnana Yagyascha Yataya Sanchitavrataha. All right.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yes.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Palji.
Dravya Yagyastapo Yagya Yoga Yagyastatha Pare Swadhyaya Gnana Yagnascha Yataya Sanchita Vrata. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Palji.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. Dravya Yagyasthapo Yagya Yoga Yagyasthatha Pare Swadhyaya Jnana Yagyascha Yatyaya Sanchita Vrata. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Shyamji. Wonderful.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe. Dravya Yagyasthapo Yagya Yoga Yagyasthatha Pare Swadhyaya Jnana Yagyascha Yatayah Sanchita Vrataha.
Wonderful. Very nice, Sandhya.
Venkat ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Ji.
Dravya yajna stapo yajna yoga yajna tatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yataya samsrita vratah.
Very nice, Venkat ji. Wonderful.
Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamya.
Radhe Radhe. Dravya Yajna Tapo Yajna Yoga Yajna Stata Pare Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnascha Yataya Sanchita Vrata. Thank you.
Very nice, wonderful. Sri Ramya.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe Radhe, Rahul.
Radhe. Dravya Yagyastapo Yagya Yoga Yagyastapa Yoga Yagya Stapare Swadhyaya Jnanascha Yatya Sanchit Vrata.
Sanchita Vrata. Very nice. All right, let's take the last few hands.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Good to see you after a long time.
Yeah, actually I'm busy because joining school is not an easy thing because I have to go in the morning as a teacher. So definitely I was not getting time to put on my video or read the shloka or...
No worries. Lakshmi ji was adequately covering you. So welcome back.
That's fine then.
And your fan is
Radhe Radhe.
also not moving. That's another change that I'm seeing. So.
Yeah, I actually just woke up because today was a holiday. Just woke up feeling very tired actually.
Please go ahead. No worries.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Dravya Yagyasthapo Yajna Yoga यज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्याय यज्ञाश्च यतयः संचितव्रताः.
Wonderful, very nice, Rupaji. Welcome back again. All right, last two points, and then we get started.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Samji.
Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastata pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yatya sanchita vratam. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Samji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, last two hands. Let's quickly take those.
Akshata ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Lakshmi.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Akshata ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Akshata ji, you may have to fix your audio. We are barely able to hear you. Let's move to Lakshmi ji.
Yes, Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastata pare swadhyaya yajnascha yataha samshita vrataha. Radhe
Very
Radhe.
nice. Wonderful. So very nice, Lakshmi ji. I see few more hands now. All right, let's take maybe quickly, real quick, last three then.
Yes, Mrinal ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah. Radhe 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 Pallavi ji Radhe Radhe Nitin ji. Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yatayah samshita vrataha.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. Very nice, Mrinal ji. Okay, last two hands and then we'll get started.
Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Radhe
go
Radhe,
ahead.
Ashutosh ji.
द्रव्य यज्ञास्तपो यज्ञा योग यज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्याय यज्ञान यज्ञाश्च यतयः संसितव्रताः.
Wonderful, Ashutosh ji. Bhakti Shatak has rendered your recitation, really well, even in Bhagavad Gita. So keep it up. All right, last but not the least, Manish ji, please go ahead.
Yes, Manish ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastata pare swadhyaya gnana yajnascha yataya sanchita vrataha. Radhe
Very
Radhe.
nice, Manish ji. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. Dravya Yagna, offering one's own wealth as sacrifice. Tapa Yagna, offering severe austerities as sacrifice. Yoga Yagna, performance of eightfold path of yogic practices as sacrifice. Tatha, thus, apare, others. Swadhyaya, cultivating knowledge by studying the scriptures. Jnana Yagna, those who offer cultivation of transcendental knowledge as sacrifice. Cha, also. Yataya. These ascetics, samsitha vrata, observing strict vows. So the short translation for the shloka goes like, some offer their wealth as sacrifice, while others offer severe austerities as sacrifice. Some practice the eightfold path of yogic practices, and yet others study the scriptures and cultivate knowledge as sacrifice, while observing strict vows. So, variety is the spice of life, right? So, let's look at it, get started. So we'll pose a leading question. What is the most fascinating thing in this world? Anybody wants to say that? Yes, Samji. Samji, for all the smileys that you have put in, I'm going to address your question, long-awaited question, okay? Vidya Maya and Vidya Maya today. Go ahead.
Okay.
Please go
Actually,
ahead. Yeah.
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer for this question, but seeing the picture, I thought teddy bear is the most fascinating thing.
All right. Well, point taken, fair point. Yes, Venkatji, you wanted to say something as well?
Yes, Venkatji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
What I feel here is, I think looking for happiness through others is the most fascinating thing for me.
Now, fascinating answers. It's a very deep thought, very true. Seeking happiness through others. Great. Great, you're looking at it. Yes. Yes, Shriyamya, real quick, and then we'll
Ramyaji, Radhe Radhe, please
continue on this. It's a pretty open-ended question I posed, right? By the way, yes, go ahead, Shriyamya.
Sorry, Tante. I think whatever one is longing for, that is the most fascinating thing for that person, thinking that one would get that, be it material or spiritual. Some people long for the spiritual thing, and that would be very fascinating for them. And some people have materialistic thing, and at least until they get it, they think that's the most fascinating thing. So whatever you're longing for.
Yeah, we keep longing for that, and that is true. So anyway, this is not a question for a lot of discussion, because I want to move on with this topic, and you can come back here. So Maharaj Ji explains that there are so many fascinating things in this world. In fact, in Mahabharata also, the Yaksha story was there when Yudhishthir was asked, Kim Ascharyam, right? What is the most surprising thing in this world? And the Kim Ascharyam he said that the most fascinating or surprising thing about the world is that you see people dying left, right, and center around you, and still you think you are immune to it. Not immune, but it doesn't sink in. That reality doesn't sink in. So that is there. And Swamiji says that if you have to develop detachment from the world, go to a shamshan or a hospital. You will have that vairagya immediately. That life is nothing. Finally, we all have to go like that. But it is called shamshan vairagya or kshanik vairagya. It doesn't subsist for a while. Right? Like it happened in the case of Ramayana also. When Bali was killed and Sugriv was being coronated by Ram, he said that now you will become the Kishkindha Naresh. He said, no, Ram, what will I do with this, on the body of my brother? He's killed. What will I do? Just take me along with you. I'll help you find Mother Sita, and there's no point in living and ruling anymore. And Ram said a very classic statement. He said, Mitra, it is kshanik vairagya. It's a momentary vairagya. Go and start ruling, okay? And after 3 months, this guy was eating, drinking, and being merry, having grapes and watching dance. And then Lakshman had to go and remind him, you said after the monsoon season is over, I'm going to help you find. So this is how the world goes anyway. So this is the relevance to the story that we had. But Maharaj says that, one of the biggest wonder, if you think about it, is the way Brahmaji has created us. No two people have similar fingerprints, even the twins, or no two leaves. Basically, everything in this creation is unique. Despite the same skeletal frame, we are all unique. That itself is a wonder in itself. And because of that, we all have the variety. Basically, God likes variety as well. I said the variety is the spice of life. We all are different. And that is the whole idea about, even in security domain, I am the biometrics aspect of it. You can uniquely identify somebody. It's not that your DNA can be copied over by somebody else. No, there are certain attributes that God has endowed us with that are very, very specific and unique to you only. And because of that, it should bring in the appreciation. The world has variety. So if you look at human beings, they differ from each other. In what sense? So many factors. Natures are different. Two kids, they might be twins born in a same family with a similar kind of an upbringing, can have completely opposite natures. That can happen. Motivations could be different for people in life. And as you can see, activities are also different. They just have a propensity to do certain things. You can't explain it other than the fact. That is why I said it is very commonsensical to, if you don't think about reincarnation, you can't understand where those tendencies are coming from, why somebody is born gifted, why certain people have a very good tendency to, spiritual bent of mind right from the word go. And some people, they have a very different nature. Some people are very analytical, some are studious. So we all have different natures, tendencies. And furthermore, The professions, aspirations, if you look at it as well, there is a variety in that as well. Throughout the world, somebody likes to do, like one of my American friend, he was saying that when his kid, when he asked what do you want to do when you grow up, he said, I want to flip burgers. That is also a tendency. They want to flip burgers in McDonald's. That excites them. What can you do about it? Nothing. So we all have our own tendencies around what we want to do, what we are good at, what fascinates us, and we are all unique in that sense. Right? Einstein had said the biggest drawback of our current education system is that a fish is judged by its ability to climb a tree. It is not the right way of judging somebody. Everybody is good at something. You can't judge an elephant on how quickly it can swim, and you can't judge a fish by how quickly it can climb a tree. Each person is born unique. That is how God has designed all of us. Aspirations are different, and sanskars, tendencies are also different. And they are from past lifetimes. How many lifetimes? Infinite lifetimes. All the impressions, all the practices, all the gurus, all the satsangs, all the kusangs that we have done, they become our sanskars. And it is being driven from multiple lifetimes. The first lifetime that we are having. So with that said, it is but natural to expect that people will have different motivations, different things will give them kick, different things will give them satisfaction. So they will have different propensities, different tendencies, different proclivities, and different things that will give them kick in life or a sense of satisfaction. So we need to have that appreciation for the fact that people are different. Just because something is clicking to us or something becomes a very commonsensical to us, that it should become to somebody else as well is a very unfair expectation when we understand how diverse this universe is. And that is why even our scriptures, it is like a general merchant store. Like if you go to Costco or BJ's, you can find everything there, right? Even vegetables. So our scriptures give all the things, whatever you are comfortable working with based on your sanskars, you start with that point onwards. So that means if you are attracted to a particular path, doesn't mean that everybody else will be attracted in the same way. Right? And that is why God, even in Bhagavad Gita, has given multiple paths there as well. So here Lord Krishna is saying, depending upon all these factors, the sacrifice that you do, right, for the purification of your mind could vary as well. One kind of a sacrifice, because the sacrifice that you do is a function of the kind of practice you are doing. So it could vary as well. So this shloka talks about the different form those sacrifices can take based on the tendencies that we have. Not everybody has similar tendencies, right? So what are those? He says typically they fall in these three categories. Yagnas, in this, he's mentioning the three yagyas. What are those? The Dravya Yagna, he's talking about the Yog Yagna, and the third one he's talking about the Gyan Yagna. These three he's talking about. By the way, what we are doing right now is also called Gyan Yagna. We are reading Bhagavad Gita. We are contemplating on the words that came out from God's mouth. It is called Gyan Yagya, what we are doing right now, which is pretty auspicious, of course, right? And then in addition, there are the two yagyas that is talking about, the Yog Yagya and the Dravya Yagya as well. So let's get a little deeper into each one of these. So to start off with Dravya Yagya, so Dravya Yagya basically means that people who are inclined towards earning wealth and donating it in charity for a divine cause. Right? That is basically you are using Dravya or the material or the non-sentient thing. That is one kind of Yagya. So it is said that they may engage in very complicated endeavors throughout their lives, but their motivation remains to serve God with the wealth that they earn. And I know quite a few people like that. Right? All the rest of the time they spend in their seva, and at the same time, whatever they are earning, they are pulling in and donating it. That is their motivation. Inner motivation is completely different. It's nothing to do with bhog at that point. Right? I know quite a few people, as a Sikh. So That is their inner motivation. Because our outwardly we might be doing something, but inner thing is completely different. Right? What's motivating you? I gave you an example, right? That beautiful example analogy that Maharaj Ji gave. This guy goes to marry a girl, and his father rejects him and says, "You don't have a proper job also. So once you have a stable job and you start earning so much, then come and ask for my daughter's hand." So this guy goes and starts studying hard and working hard and everything. So externally, people might be thinking he's doing that, but internally, what is his motivation to marry that girl, right? So internal motivation and external act could be entirely different, right? So they might be working hard, but we don't know what's driving them truly. Is it their work? Possibly, but then the motivation could be completely different. So this is the Dravya Yagya. Let's look at more. They offer their propensity for earning as a sacrifice to God in devotion. And John Wesley, he is a British preacher and founder of Methodist Church. He said, "Make all you can, save all you can, give all you can." Okay, that is the punchline for that. In fact, I have a lot of Mormon friends. When I was doing a master's, so quite a few American Mormon friends I have even now. Um, so in their culture, basically, you know how it works. Basically, they are all professionals. They work well, and then from their office, 10% of their salary directly goes to the church. There are no questions asked. Directly goes to the church. That's part of their life. That is how formalized they are around this process. Right? And when kids are experimenting with drugs and other things around teenage, their kids, they go and serve, do the missionary work around the world. Not missionary spreading the religion, but they do some seva work, could pick up something and help out. But it's very organized from that sense point, right? So what are they doing? Basically, whatever they are doing, the motivation is basically to offer that to God. Okay, so that is the first part of Yagya. This could assume a form of Yagya based on the propensities that you have. What is the second one? It is the Yog. Now let's talk about Yog Yagya. Now, Yoga Darshan is one of the 6 philosophical treatises written by 6 learned sages. First one is Maharishi Gemini, right, who wrote Mimamsa Darshan, which describes Karam Kand and other Vedic rituals, Karam Kand aspect of it. Second one is Bhagwan Vedavyas, we know Vedant Darshan and all the Tattva and all the way up to Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, even Bhagavatam is written by Vedavyas. Third one is Maharshi Gautam. He authored Nyaya Darshan. Nyaya Darshan is the logical part of it. Right? When I talk about Markad Kishore Nyaya and Marjar Kishore Nyaya, that is all given in Nyaya Darshan. Right? We have become Billi ka Bacha, so that is mentioned here in the Nyaya Darshan. And Kupa Manduk Nyaya, all these logical, inferential things are given in this. Beautiful examples there. Who's next? Maharshi Kannad. He wrote Vaisheshik Darshan. The different elements of this, those are explained. Maharshi Kapil, he wrote Sankhya Darshan. Bhagavad Gita has references to Sankhya Darshan. Swamiji in his commentary has referred to that. In fact, he has given a discourse also on Maharshi Kapil's teachings and this whole darshan. And then Maharshi Patanjali, as we know, he's the most famous one. Baba Ramdev ji has made him very famous. And he authored Yoga Darshan, which is very famous in the Western world also, because the practice of yoga has been popularized, and it's the basis or the foundation or the backbone of that is the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, as we know. So these are the yogic paths. So let's look a little more to the Patanjali aspect of it. Now, Patanjali Yoga Darshan, it has an 8-fold path, Ashtanga Yoga, as they say, for spiritual advancement, and it has the physical. So people in Western world typically think of yoga as only the physical postures, which is only one aspect of yoga. The end, it's a holistic thing, as I'll touch upon it. Now, this aspect, it's basically the aim is Lakshata Vachata, they say, right? Vachata is the means, Lakshata is the aim. Aim is to conquest of the mind. That is the aim or the objective of yoga practice, any kind of yogic practice. It's not just about becoming flexible. Yes, we have to take care of our body, because body is the vehicle that God has endowed us to complete our spiritual journey. But that is the means, not an end in itself. Some people think of it as an end in itself. That's not the case. Eventual aim is to conquest of the mind. Having said that, let's look at a little more deeper into that aspect of it as well. Even in Patanjali Yoga Sutra or Darshan, it says Samadhi Siddhishwara Paridhanat, Ishwara Paridhanat, which basically means to attain perfection in yoga, you must surrender to God. Same concept is repeated. Yesterday we had a pretty good discussion on Gyan Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, right? I'll touch a little more on it today. So the concept comes that you have to surrender to God, even though in yogic path, what you are focusing on is the Paramatma aspect of God. God has three parts, not parts, I should say, three aspects to his personality. One is Paramatma, which is a Kshirodakshai Vishnu, seated within us, which is the soul of our soul, whose job is to give us life, basically, who's the energy behind our soul, and at the same time logging our karmas as well. So in yogic, when you have the union with Atma meets with Paramatma, that's a blissful state. Okay, that is the aim of Ashtanga Yoga. In Gyan Marg, you focus on the Brahman aspect of God, which is Nirgun, Nirvishesh, Nirakar, right? One which cannot grace. It's the effulgence of God, basically. That is what you focus on. In Bhakti, you focus on Sagun Sakar, the complete manifestation of God, where all of his attributes are manifested. So even in this path where your aim is to perfect your yoga through the yogic means, you still have to surrender to God. Okay? It's very clearly written in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And furthermore, in Ashtanga Yoga, if you look at it, the person's inclined towards this yoga, they learn to love God. They offer their yogic practice as yagna in the fire of devotion. So even there, finally, you have to do devotion. So if you go to Ashtanga path, in fact, it's very interesting. So even Jnani or an Ashtanga yogi, for that matter, they can conquer the elements. Right? When you start getting deeper into your spiritual practice, you can conquer what are the 5 elements. 5 elements is soil. You can conquer that padarth element. Then above that comes water, right? That also you can conquer. Then above that comes fire. That also you can conquer. Then comes your air. That also you can conquer. Then comes sky, ether. That also you can conquer. Then comes ahamkar. That also you can conquer. Then comes Mahan and Prakriti, that you cannot conquer. So Maya has 2 aspects to it. The Swarupa Varika Maya and Guna Varika Maya. The Swarupa Varika Maya is called the Avidya Maya, which a Jnani can conquer. When you conquer the Swarupa Varika Maya, that means you are situated in I, soul. Right? Like Ramana Maharshi, for him everything, he could see soul in everything, nothing beyond that. So Swarupa Varika Maya, when you conquer, you have conquered Avidya Maya. Guna Varika Maya has 3 parts to it, the 3 gunas of Maya, which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Tamas and Rajas you can conquer. Sattva you cannot conquer. That is called Vidya Maya. So this is the difference between Vidya Maya and Avidya Maya, which I've been talking about. So you cannot conquer the Sattva aspect of it. When you are in Samadhi, for that long, yes, you are in bliss. When you're out of Samadhi, again you are back to your mind is still impure as you started off, because you have still not surrendered to God. Right? It's just like when honeybees are stinging you, you get into water. What happens? Do they follow you inside water? They don't. When you're out of the water, again honeybees will come back. So without surrender to God, you cannot really proceed. So Jnanis, yogis, they will have a fall unless they have surrendered to God at the peak of their practice. Right? Even Lord Krishna in 7.14, he say, "Day hoshi gunmai maya duratyaya mamev," I think, prapadyante maya meva tarantite. Mamev means only the ones who surrender unto me, they cross over Maya easily. So without surrendering to God, nothing doing. You can get into Samadhi, you can get mystic abilities, you may conquer up to Ahankar, but you are still under Maya. That means that constant threat is still on. Because those 6 things we spoke about yesterday, Shat Sampat. So what happens when you conquer Swarupa Varika Maya? That means you have conquered the Aham. Then you are in Atma Gyan. Atma Gyan is still not Paramatma Gyan, and it is definitely not God realization. Some people think Atma Gyan, Paramatma Gyan, Bhagavad Prapti all are same. They are not. They are as different as chalk and cheese. So Atma Gyan is great state to be in, but you are still not beyond Maya. You can still fall down, and you still have to maintain those 6 things continuously and hope one day you will find a saint who can bring in the seeds of devotion in you, and then by surrendering to God you can conquer Maya. You are still not beyond Maya. So Atma Gyan or Atma Anand is a state you reach when you have conquered the avidya Maya. You are still under Maya. Paramatma Gyan is something you get when you are in moksha, which is called Brahmanand. That can happen only after surrender to God. And Premanand is something that you get only if you are on the devotional path. Tomorrow I'll talk about the different destinations we can have based on each of the path that we have just spoken about. We'll talk about that as well, so that we can appreciate this concept a little more. All right, so now moving on. Hope the Vidya Maya aspect is clear now. Now, even in the yogic path, if you look at it, okay, it's not an advertisement for JK here. So basically, Kripalu Paddhati, which is used, is a very holistic way of looking at yoga. So if any one of you have done any of the Kripalu Paddhati sessions, it is a very holistic way of looking at it. Even the pranayam, you bring in the devotion aspect of it, right? You say Radhe and then Sham. It's not just plain breathing, you make it devotional. So why? Because now you are, in English, they say killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're not only doing the yogic practice to improve your health, but also mixing devotion with it and cleansing your mind. So now, if you get into samadhi, you will enter samadhi with a cleansed mind, not just a temporary thing and then you're back like that madhumakhi and the beast. Just remember that when you are in that state, if you have not done devotion, your mind is still as dirty as you previously had. You might have harnessed more powers, you might have acquired more focus and concentration, you might be getting closer to Atma Gyan, but you are nowhere close to getting over Maya or Paramatma Gyan, Brahmanand, or forget about Premanand. Premanand is an advanced stage even for devotees. Okay. This is not devotion unless you have mixed that. So if you look at it, these pranayams, everything actually has mixed Sham and Gaur Ras in it, basically the bliss of God or reciting God's name. So devotion goes hand in hand with these practices, with the yoga. Then it becomes your, like Prem Yoga, they call it. Like Deviji does that sessions. So even in yoga, you need to mix that in order to progress deep. And this combination of yogic postures along with devotion results in physical, mental, and spiritual purification of the practitioner. This is the key thing. That is why Maharaji has given very Kripalu Paddhati. That Swamiji does that, it covers it holistically. So if you have done any of his retreats, he actually makes you follow that. He'll do that with the prayer, the starting prayer that you do, then the yogic exercise, then he'll take you to a meditation, and then the subtle body relaxation, and then towards then the artis. It's a holistic way of looking at it, because plain yogic practice is a mechanical exercise unless you mix it with devotion, and then you get closer to the Atma Gyan aspect of it or the Brahmanand aspect of it. That is a goal of even for an Ashtanga yogi. All right, so we have spoken a lot about this. Now let's talk about Gyani as well. We've been talking a lot about Gyan. So some people, they are inclined towards the cultivation of knowledge. They just like that, right? Anything and everything that you can lay your hands on, and you just want to acquire knowledge. It just makes you feel it's a good thing actually. We have, as God is endowed us with, and it is something that happens by default. We are always gaining knowledge. How are we gaining knowledge? Our eyes are looking, it's absorbing information. Your ears are listening, they are absorbing information. So that gyan is anyway happening to us from all on the corners. And some people do that conscious practice to read through scriptures, acquire knowledge. So typically they end up in gyan marg, those sanskars, they take them to that. Now it is said that The knowledge is that which increases your devotion to God. Maharaj simplified even knowledge. If a knowledge that you are acquiring is not leading to developing love and devotion for God, then something is not right. So that is the real knowledge. If that knowledge is not leading to attraction towards God, understanding somebody, right, or appreciation, then that knowledge is also mechanical. Right? They say that ज्ञान की हद है समझ and समझ की हद है प्रेम. So even Gyan, deeper Gyan, or the peak of Gyan would also take you to love for God. When you start to understand somebody deeply, right, what's the point of that Gyan which does not lead you to having an appreciation for somebody who's the very basis of your life, right? If it doesn't lead you to have gratitude for them, what's the point of that Gyan? What kind of scholastic ability that is when you don't have the gratitude for somebody who's given you life years or providing for you or given you that opportunity to actually become like him. So that appreciation can come when your knowledge starts fructifying. And so the sadhaks, they engage in the sacrifice of knowledge, which when imbued with the spirit of devotion leads to loving union with God. Again, imbued with devotion, that aspect has come in. So yoga, when you add yoga to anything, whether it's Ashtang Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Karam Yoga, Bhakti Yoga anyways, yoga itself means devotion, union. So yoga is like that Amrit, right? That secret ingredient, so to say, or the secret sauce, which when mixed with any of the parts actually makes it complete. Devoid of yoga, that path is simply a mechanical exercise or a scholastic exercise. So yoga is like that Amrit. If you mix Amrit with water, water becomes Amrit. You mix Amrit with Coke, Coke will become Amrit. You mix Amrit with Lassi, Lassi will become Amrit, right? So yoga is that key thing. Devotion is the key thing, regardless of which path you're following. Devotion is the one that will fructify, lead you to the fruition of the path that you are following. That is the key message here. And even Lord Krishna, like I said, he said Maya is my energy. Right? And he said, Mamev prapande, only people who surrender to me with devotion, they can conquer it easily. How easily? He's given an example. I think in Bhagavatam, I don't remember that. He said that otherwise this Maya is like a huge ocean to cross over. But people who surrender to me with loving devotion, for them that ocean, how much it becomes? If you have a, what do you call that, cow hooves or the hoof of a cow, right? Or a bachada, you see the hoof, small hoof in its feet, the water, as much water can come into that hoof. So they cross it over just like that. Okay, it's no longer an ocean for them. That's what Krishna says, by the way. But obviously we need to reach that level of surrender, and then it becomes just like that. They can cross over, people who surrender that. But without surrender, no matter how much austerities, tap, jap you are doing, you cannot conquer it. You can at best get till the stage of conquering the ahankar aspect of it. Beyond ahankar is the Mahan Tattva, beyond Mahan Tattva is the Prakriti Tattva, right? And beyond Prakriti is the Purushottam, God himself. He glances at Prakriti, Mahan Tattva comes through Mahan, or Ahamkar comes, Ahamkar, Tanmatra comes, and this creation comes about. So you can go up to Ahamkar, but not beyond that. And that is called Vidya Maya. That is also material. So big Jnanis, if they have not surrendered, they will fall down. Maya is just waiting and you cannot conquer Maya. Only people who can conquer Maya is the one. If somebody can conquer Maya on their self-effort, that means they have conquered God, which is impossible to do. Okay, so then the knowledge aspect of it, we've been talking about doing, knowledge, the Gyan is, we've been saying that devotion is the key thing, but how do we look at knowledge in perspective now? Now, let's get into the discussion aspect of it, which is an important part to understand. If you look at ignorance, it is just like having a blindfold. Somebody takes the blindfold off, you start seeing things. So ignorance is like that only, darkness or blindfold. And knowledge is like that sword which can cut these blindfolds for us. Now, my question for today is, how much knowledge is necessary to progress spiritually? And it's a very important concept. Next slide, I'm going to cover that. Anybody who wants to take a shot at it? What do you think? Yes, few hands.
Yes, Nandyaji. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I think these two questions, who am I and what is the purpose of my life?
These two questions are good enough for us to know, right?
I feel so.
Yeah. But yeah, that realization would still not be there, right? I am a soul, but do we get to know I am a soul? That realization would still take time. But yeah, that is a very fundamental question to be understood. Beautiful. I think that makes sense. Who am I and what's the
Ramji.
purpose? You don't need to know that. But if you look at this high level, the problem statement that we are trying to get an answer for, there's a tons and tons of theory behind it, right? Who am I and what's the purpose of life? If you go, there is so much of theory that it will make you start questioning who I truly am. Am I God or am I part of God? Now these things can start getting a little murkier there as well. What is my purpose of life? Like, my purpose of life is to experience my complete abilities, by harnessing it by my self efforts, or do I need to rely on some superior entity and his grace? And what is grace and how to get that? What is the principle? So then it just keeps on branching out, right? As you start getting deeper into that. What is the practice to be followed on a day-to-day basis? What is the theory to subscribe to on a day-to-day basis, right? So those questions, they start getting a little nuanced as we start progressing on this path, because eventually it has to translate into something tangible for you on a day-to-day basis, right? But great question to start off with. That is how a spiritualist start. This is the questions from a seeker standpoint. Yes, anybody else wanted to add?
Yes, Ramji. Radhe Radhe, please.
Radhe Radhe. I think the amount of knowledge needed until we surrender to Guru, until there, it is okay, because from there onwards, once we surrender to Guru, from there onwards, like, actual progress happens.
True. Yeah. So basically, you will wait until you get surrendered. Until then, you will keep on getting answers to their questions, right? And that is how the process evolves. Very true. Great. Good point. Yeah, maybe one more, and then I'll take the next slide to illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. It's an important concept to understand for all the spiritual seekers.
Yes, Rahulji. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I think the knowledge which increases the love for God is necessary, and anything else we can simply do namaskar and reject it. So
yeah, a bhakt, like a true bhakt, Rahul is saying, because you are intellectually convinced that is the way to go, right? Not everybody is though, but yeah, very good answer around that. Any knowledge that leads to developing more love and faith in God is worth it. But the rest of the knowledge can be rejected. It's a pure self ego massage exercise, nothing else than that. Yes, Shriramya, you wanted to add? Let's hear from everybody real quick, and then I'll move to the next slide. I think we have a little bit of time.
Please go ahead, Sri Ramyaji. Yeah.
I think we need enough knowledge to control our mind or to purify our mind, because even after going to spiritual path, if our mind is not in control, we will fall back. So that is very essential to progress, like that stability of mind.
Yeah, knowledge is actually an ongoing thing. It's not a point in time kind of a deal that, okay, if this much knowledge is there, now I'm good to progress, right? It's an ongoing process. It will evolve. And the milestones that you're putting, they also keep on shifting, because there's no dearth of knowledge. Even material knowledge is infinite for that matter, right? So it's not like, okay, now I have enough knowledge and I'm good to start, but we have to start somewhere, right? Great. Let's hear from Keshavji, I
Yes,
think. What do you have?
Keshavji. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Keshavji.
My little understanding is, once I know Vasudev Kutumbakam, and the other thing, Krishna Vande Jagat Gurum, and the last, He is all, He is in me, and that's it. I surrender to Him 100%.
Beautiful.
Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's the whole gist of scriptures, actually, if you look at it. Beautiful. Very nice, Keshavji. Rakya ji is going to say something today after a while, so let's give her a chance.
Please go ahead, Pragya ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin, Radhe Radhe everyone. Yeah, beautiful session. Yeah, just seconding Rahul ji's point that ज्ञान वही है जो भगवान की भक्ति बढ़ाए, भगवान से that increases our love for God. पोथी पढ़ी पढ़ी जग हुआ, पंडित भया न कोई, ढाई अक्षर प्रेम के पढ़े सो पंडित होए. And even Bhakti Shatak is full of, Maharaj ji has said like how only Gyan, Virakt of Bhakti is just an, ego, brushing off our ego. So I just wanted to quote a couplet from Bhakti Shatak also. Karma yoga aru Gyan sab sadhana yadapi बखान राधे राधे पे बिनु भक्ति सब जनो मृतक देह बिनु प्राण राधे राधे. Yeah, any knowledge, any means, yoga, whatever practices we adopt, without an element of bhakti, it is like a body without the soul. Mritak dev binu pran. That's it.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. That just sums it up, actually. Any practice that we do, it's like a dead body without the pran. The pran is the devotion, basically. Great. I see a few more hands. I'll get back to you. Please keep your hands on. I'll just wanted to cover a key concept here for people who are always in a waiting mode in life. Okay. They want to have that most perfect knowledge before they can take the next step in their life. And that is something I wanted to tackle, because this is an important question on this part, right? You could be in a doubtful mode throughout your life. And I'm telling you, this is a story of majority of people in life. It's not like it's an occasional thing where it's just like you just have a doubt after doubt after doubt. And the argument that comes is, only if all of my questions are answered, then I will take the next step in life. So like this guy who's waiting for all these signals to turn green so that he can go back to his home, which is pretty unrealistic in this case, right? So one attitude is to have a doubt and doubt and doubt. You keep on moving from doubt to doubt to doubt. Okay, that is one way. So this could be a trap even in this path. That is why I'm saying there are tons of theories, tons of stuff in this world. And if obviously Krishna said, I only solidify the faith, but there's always a slippery path. It can happen. And then if you're always in doubtful mode, and because your doubt is not letting you proceed, then who's the loser? You only are the loser. So Swamiji says this is a not journey, not from doubt to doubt to doubt. Actually, I like this beautiful example. So this girl has to go to her home, which is about 2 miles away. And she has a lantern in the pitch dark. And this lantern enables her to see only 20 steps ahead, not anything beyond that. She can only see 20 steps. Now, should she say that, okay, I cannot see my house, the 2 miles away, I will not go? Of course not. So what does she do? She takes the first 20 steps, and then she takes the next 20 steps, and then she takes the next 20 steps, and that is how she completes her journey. So spiritual wise as well, this is a journey from understanding to understanding, not from doubt to doubt. You may not have all the answers right on day one, but that is not an excuse not to progress on this path. Little bit of knowledge is good enough for us to get started. If we had the entire knowledge, then there is no difference between us and God. We are tiny souls. We are not Vibhu like God. So we will always be Alp until we become God realized. So this journey is whatever has made sense. You pick that nugget up, start implementing it, and then it will take you to the next step and the next and the next, and it will start unfolding this journey. So it's a journey from understanding to understanding and not from doubt to doubt. So how much knowledge is needed? A little bit. That just enables you to see the next 20 steps is good enough. Once you have established faith and understanding, related to this concept. A little bit of knowledge is good enough to get us started. You'll never have all the answers. But the beauty of this path is, if you're truly seeking, within no time, all your doubts will get answered. Okay. But some knowledge will you only get, some experience you will only get when you become God realized, right? Before that, we cannot have that. So there you have to take a leap of faith around a lot of things. It's a journey of faith from understanding to understanding, but your experience will start telling you you are doing, something is happening. Just like when you eat food, your sensation would tell you that, yeah, something has happened, good. Or when you're feeling hungry, you can't explain it to somebody. Your experience can tell you. So similarly, bhakti, devotion, path, that practice that you're following will tell you something is changing within you. And then that will reinforce the faith, and you take the next and next and next, and that's how you complete the journey. Now let's take the hands. I think they wanted to add on the previous slide. So let's pick up questions or any other thing that they may have to add on to this.
Yes, Ajit ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, as you have cited the example, in this case, we need to have knowledge of roadmap, the direction and the path, that this will lead me to my destination. But in another way, there is a saying that Purna Mada Purna Midam Purnat Purna Mudachyate Purnat Purnasya. So I am incomplete in my sense, even though I am a very tiny soul, but I have tremendous power, infinite power, equivalent to God. So that knowledge is there within me, just like a seed comprises of whole tree, banyan tree, you can say the banyan family of the tree. So that much knowledge we should have it. Then I can do my efforts in right direction, and I can accomplish my full-fledged strength. Radhe Radhe.
Oh, great point. Very nice. Yeah, we do have the infinite potential to become godlike. The secret sauce along the way is His grace, not our self-effort alone. So that is the only thing. But yes, we have the potential, and it's like a seed within us itself. Fountain of knowledge can burst, when we start tapping into that. So great, beautiful point. Let's hear from others as well.
Yeah. Nitin ji, should I read a couple of chats?
Yeah.
There are a lot of messages.
Sure.
Asha ji has mentioned the knowledge which create firm faith and then love for God's devotion.
Beautiful point. Very true.
Surinder ji mentioned level of knowledge necessary to surrender.
Right. So yeah, it's a process basically, and surrender will happen in due course of time. Surrender is a very deep term, actually. Those 6 principles we have said, but when I think deeply about it, it's like you just trust God completely for everything. You don't plan. You're not insecure. You don't plan. Where will my next meal come from? It's a very, very advanced stage. But then we have the tools actually to keep on increasing our surrender, and seva is one of the ways to do that. Good. So, but it's a very advanced stage. It's a very, very deep concept, surrender, where you are like, you are willing to let go of a thin rope, even though there might be a big trench you are seeing down below, with a complete faith that God is going to take care of me. Prahlad had that, and that is why he was saved. For us, even if a little bit doubt will come, okay, and then he will be gone. It's a very advanced stage. Right? He would have worked towards it.
I'll read one message before I'll take Manish ji's hand. Lakshmi ji has mentioned, I think no measurement of knowledge can be made. It's once started, it continues to add on gradually.
Yes. Knowledge, yes, very true. It can have a compounding effect once you start gaining it. And like I said, when you are on the path of devotion, the devotion will lead to more knowledge. When you get more knowledge, it will lead to more devotion. More devotion, more knowledge. It just continues to reinforce each other. And then finally, you don't need knowledge beyond a point. Then it's just devotion after that. That is how this process goes. So knowledge and devotion, they go hand in hand. They're not mutually exclusive. Devotion leads to knowledge because it is peeling off the layers of dirt from that we have accrued on our antakaran. And when we start getting closer to our true self, knowledge will start shining forth. Truths will start getting revealed from within. Krishna is going to solidify your faith on so many things as you continue to go along. So knowledge will be a de facto or the byproduct of a devotional or a clean heart. It just happens all by itself.
Beautifully explained. Thank you, Nitinji. Manishji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Manishji.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, so I was going to say knowledge is needed to get started, but it's also continuous. And you never know when the knowledge a situation can arise and, you could forget the knowledge that we learned. There's an example that Swamiji gives in his video. It kind of goes like with the Pandit. He's a learned Pandit, but he gets into a situation. So he decides to rob the king's treasure. And the king is working on some kind of saying that I'm very opulent, I have everything in the world and all that stuff. He's trying to finish some lines. And then the Panditji gets into the kingdom, and then the guards come. So he hides under goes in the king's room and hides under the bed. And then the king is remembering those lines and trying to finish the verse. And the Panditji remembers his knowledge again and finishes that.
Line.
You may have all the opulence, but the life is very short and everything stays here. Something I don't know if you remember that example or from Swamiji's video, but his knowledge comes back, and then he realizes the mistake he was about to make. But if he didn't have that knowledge, he would have, so knowledge is very important at all points.
Very true.
That's my point.
Yes, knowledge is needed. That is why even the Guru, when we talk about Guru, he is Shrotri and Brahmanist both. He is knowledge, well versed in all the scriptures, and at the same time, he is realized. And knowledge is needed. Without Tattva Gyan, people can fall down even from Mahabhav. So knowledge is important, equally important, but knowledge has a limit to it eventually. And after that, it just devotion takes over. The stage that we are in, knowledge is like of paramount importance. We have to keep on revising the knowledge and then keep on implementing that knowledge as best as we can in order to progress. That's how it goes. Thank you, Manishji.
Thank you, Manishji.
Thank you, Brother Radhe.
Yeah. Also, I want to mention that please fill in the attendance tracker. I have posted the link. Please provide your comments, feedback, questions in the attendance tracker as well.
Yeah, please do fill it up. That'd be nice.
Padmaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Thank you
for waiting.
Radhe Radhe. Just composing my thoughts. Stepping stone is knowledge, but unless we are willing to take that knowledge and translate that into wisdom, and how do one translate that into wisdom? It's like how can I put this? Like when knowledge kind of like really ripening, not in your mind, but it is really ripening in your whole consciousness and your body, mind, and soul. You have imbibed that knowledge and you have accepted that knowledge. And when you're able to experience that, I wouldn't say from arrogant point of view, wisdom, but you would know that the knowledge is actually transforming into some wisdom where you're able to see yourself more devoted, more bhakti, more devotion for God. If that knowledge is actually helping you, that amount of knowledge is actually helping you transform that knowledge into wisdom of where your acceptance, take it, Tanna, get up and just take it, okay, thanks. Where it's just not a translation of the words on a piece of paper, but when you close your eyes and you see what that nugget actually means to you, one spiritual nugget, what does it actually mean to you? That wisdom of accepting God, the wisdom of surrendering yourself to God, away from fear, away from greed, away from comparison, away from apprehensions. Those realizations is enough just to get started, but doesn't mean that there is no limitations for knowledge. I think there will be some point where the knowledge kinds of takes a back seat and your bhakti takes over, and your actions is compelled by the bhakti for the God, rather than just having knowledge in the front seat, but it will be in the back seat, but your wisdom will drive you to surrender yourself to God.
No, that's great. Wisdom is actually realized knowledge, right? Even Einstein had said that the realized knowledge is real knowledge, rest is mere information. So for information to become wisdom or knowledge to become wisdom, it has to be complemented by your experience, the realization. Kabir had that part, right, when people would come to him basically, and one of the scholars in his time would not complain, but he came to him and said, why is it that even though we are the scholars, people don't come to us and they go to you? And he said, tum kaho kitab ki lekhi aur main kahun aankhon dekhi. So there's no substitute for realized knowledge at all. So for practitioners like us, I mean, I should say like me, the knowledge has to be really taken deep. There is 3-step process for that, right? Chintan, Manan, and Nididhyasan, basically. The practical part of it is the key. So if we have done an anger management course and next time somebody comes and presses our button and we are exactly angry the same way like we were, then we have not really taken it deep. It has not become wisdom as yet. So that is where I think we have to pray to God and put in our effort as well, because nothing comes without putting in our effort. God will grace us when we start putting effort sincerely, and the more we make this knowledge our realization, the more devotion will increase automatically, because real knowledge is the knowledge that takes you closer to God. Rest all knowledge can be thrown away. Any knowledge that takes you closer to God is the real knowledge. That is what Maharaj said. It simplifies life very simply, right? Am I doing the right thing? Am I acting in accordance to scriptures? Am I acting in accordance to my dharma? Am I doing my duty properly? All that you can pull it back to, is it taking you closer to God, this action? Answer is yes, yes. The answer is no, then you need to think about it. So that is how it goes. Beautiful point, Padmaji. Very nice. Manoranjan.
Ashaji has also mentioned beautiful point as always, Padmaji.
Yeah, beautiful. Very nice. Yes, Manoranjan ji.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. I'm unable to unmute. Just a moment. Okay. Somehow, yeah. Meanwhile, we can take another question from Ajitji. Will there be a finish line in the path of devotion and bhakti?
No. There's no finish line in the path of devotion. Bhakti ki purnima nahi hoti, Maharaj ji kehte. In every other path, there is a finish line. Beyond that, it is not needed. In bhakti, there is no purnima. That is the beauty of bhakti, because see that this competition between devotee and God continues forever. Right? Bhakt keeps on being selfless and giving it back to God, serving God, and God multiplies his big bliss and gives it back to him. He said, all right, I will take this and again serve back. That competition continues. God doesn't say, now I have run out of bliss, the fund of bliss. So bhakti ki kabhi purnima nahi hoti. It's ever fresh. It just keeps on increasing, and there's no limit to it. There's no finish line, just to put it simply. Scriptures say that very clearly. Maharaj ji has explained it very nicely. So no finish line for bhakti. Yes, for other paths, there is a finish line. After that, there is no other thing. Moksha is done deal, right? After moksha, there's nothing to be achieved from Brahma Gyani. But bhakti is like an ongoing process, even after God realization.
Yeah, thank you, Nitinji. Sri Ramya ji has asked, are we going to sing bhajans today also?
Of course, we are waiting for that. So after Manoranjan ji completes his question, after that it's bhajan time, and then we'll wrap up the session. So that has to be part of our. Payalji is already geared up. I can see that, and I think Shefali is going to sing as well. Rahul, whoever I can see on screen, and Pramod ji, please gear up for a couple of lines each. Yes, Manoranjan ji, please go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Namaskaram to all of you. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Indeed, actually, as usual, it's a beautiful session. All the sessions that coincides with the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita is extremely wonderful. thanking you for that. Just I have a doubt, because since we are discussing on chapter 4, verse number 28, is it correct?
28th, yes, that is correct. So far, so good, yeah. But you got muted again. So let me unmute.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that chapter, actually, it is mentioned about Yagyas. So, but we discussed about 3 Yagyas, I presume. One is Dravya Yagya, the other is the Yoga Yagya, and then the last one is the Jnana Yagya. Am I correct? But actually, if you see, we discussed 3 Yagyas, but actually in the verse it is given 4 Yagyas. There are 4 Yagyas which are mentioned. I think we missed out one Yagya, and that is Tapo Yagya.
Which Yakya did we miss out?
Tapo Yagya. We didn't discuss on Tap. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the commentary Swamiji has touched upon these 3. I think Tapo probably he covered as part of Ashtanga Yoga itself. But if you want to do that separately, we can do that. Tapo Yagya separately, we can have a discussion on that as well.
Yeah, because the verse itself consists of 4 Yagyas. So we should discuss the 4 of them. So we can discuss about Tapo Yagya in some other session if you could. That is what I wanted to say. Thank you. Thank you for the session. Wonderful session.
Thank you very much. Sure, we can bring it up in another session. It's a corollary of one of the existing Yagyas. That's why Swamiji has touched upon 3 only, but we can certainly bring in the Tapo Yagya as well. Okay, are we good for?
I see Keshav Ji's hand raised.
And
if
then
we can take
to our chanting time. That's a good way to, we can spend maybe 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes on that to wrap up. Yes, Keshav Ji, please go ahead. You are on mute. You'll have to unmute. Okay, I just unmuted.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, one idea came to me last week only, and that was ego is the biggest issue. And in ego, we need to let E go. That is ego. Go, E gone. And what is E? It is very interesting. Coincidentally, it is 5th alphabet in English, A, B, C, D, E. And E has 5 eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 vertical lines. So I took it as 5 eyes. And what are these 5 eyes? 5 senses collected when contact with sense objects that make our ego. And it is all collected in buddhi. Of course, collected by mind through 5 eyes, senses, and in contact with sense objects. Now, once we make this E zero, that is the end of our journey. And then Lord Krishna, he becomes our Sarthi, and he takes, and when there is no Suksham Shri, then chapter closes. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. Very nice analogy. Loved it. In fact, you are going from I to 0, and in between is G, I would say. You're taking help from God. G for God.
Of course. And God, and another thing, it is like going reverse. And when you let go E, you come back to D. And G-O, D comes God. E gone, D came in after go. So that becomes God, journey completed. Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. Very nice analogies. It will make us remember. Thank you so much for these wonderful nuggets that you present. So we have 3 sleeping eyes and 2 standing eyes for sure. Thank you so much, Keshav Ji. Always a pleasure.
Always.
All nuggets from you. Okay, I think we are ready for the Bhakti time now. We did a lot of Gyan Yagya. Now let's do a little bit of devotional chanting. Do some Harinam Sankirtan, starting with maybe a couple of lines each. So let's get started. I see a lot of excited faces.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. Rahul Ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Rahul.
ओरे मोरे मन श्री राधिका रमन निश दिन गुण गन गाए जा ओरे मोरे मन श्री राधिका रमन निश दिन गुण गन गाए जा, छिन छिन नेह बढ़ाए जा, पल पल प्रेम बढ़ाए जा, ओरे मोरे मन श्री राधिका रमन, निश दिन गुण गन गाए जा.
Very nice, Rahul. Wonderful. This is a bhajan I sang last Saturday, so beautiful. In fact, this has one of the lines here. Shama Sham Milan Hit Nit Prati Nainan Neer Bahaye Ja, Man Govind Gun Gaye Ja, Ore More Man Shri Radhika Raman, Nishidin Gun Gan Gaye Ja. Very, very nice. Wonderful. Okay, a few more hands. Let's take them.
Padmaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
I heard Nitinji sing this, I think 4 days ago. I just inserted few of my own emotional words to it. तुम मेरे थे मेरे हो मेरे रहोगे, बहकुनाब बहकाने से, तुम मेरे थे मेरे हो मेरे रहोगे, बहकुनाब बहकाने से, अब विरह प्रेम जो डूब गए, अब विरह प्रेम में जो डूब गए, अब क्या होगा समझाने से, तुम मेरे थे मेरे हो मेरे रहोगे, बहकुनाब बहकाने से, अब विरह प्रेम में जो डूब गई, अब विरह प्रेम में जो डूब गई, अब क्या होगा समझाने से, तुमको ही तन मन धन अर्पण, तुमको ही तन मन धन अर्पण, तुम ही हो मेरे जीवन धर, तुम ही हो मेरे जीवन धर, तुम मेरे हो मेरे थे मेरे रहोगे, अब बहकुनाब मैं बहकाने से.
Wonderful, Padmaji. Very nice. Beautiful. Virah Vedana. So beautiful. I think
I added from my
that Premaras Madira from Maharajji, it has bhajans for Virah Madhuri and other things. So very nice way. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Okay, 3 more hands. Nice.
Yes, Padmaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Padmaji.
This is again one of my favorite bhajan, and I think you all must be knowing, so we all can sing along. Okay. Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram, Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram, Ram Narayanam Janaki Vallabham, Ram Narayanam Janaki Vallabham. कौन कहता है भक्ति में शक्ति नहीं, कौन कहता है भक्ति में शक्ति नहीं, शायद मीरा के जैसी वो भक्ति नहीं, शायद मीरा के जैसी वो भक्ति नहीं। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। जो भी है तुमसे है वरना कुछ हम नहीं, जो भी है तुमसे है वरना कुछ हम नहीं। हाथ तेरा है सर पर तो कुछ गम नहीं, हाथ तेरा है सर पर तो कुछ गम नहीं। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। इन लकीरों में तेरा बस तेरा नाम है, इन लकीरों में बस तेरा नाम है। शिव शंकर भी तू और तू ही राम है, शिव शंकर भी तू और तू ही राम है। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। राधे राधे।
Beautiful, Swati. I think these are the lines written by you yourself. Beautiful, very nice. I could make out. I said, all right. I've not heard it, but whatever I'm hearing is really good. Very nice, very thought
Thank you
provoking.
so much. Radhe Radhe.
Like you always do. Actually, you should enroll for that bhajan competition that has started in India, right? Like Indian Idol. Should go for that. Really well. Wonderful. And I think you write well as well. So that's nice. Okay. We have
Swati ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Swati ji. Shefali is
Radhe
supposed to lead
Radhe.
as well. So
I will also sing only small 2-4 lines only.
please, Swati
Jai
ji.
Radhe Krishna Radhe, Jai Radhe Krishna Radhe, Radhe Krishna Radhe Krishna Radhe Krishna Radhe, Jai Radhe Krishna Radhe, Jai Radhe Krishna Radhe. कृष्ण बड़े नट खट बुरी भाली राधे, कृष्ण बड़े निष्ठुर दयामयी राधे। जय राधे कृष्ण राधे, जय राधे कृष्ण राधे। कृष्ण तो है टेढ़े मेढ़े सीधी साधी राधे, कृष्ण तो है प्यारे प्यारे उनसे प्यारी राधे। जय राधे कृष्ण राधे, जय राधे कृष्ण राधे। Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Swati ji. Beautiful. Very nice.
Shefali ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Shefali, go ahead.
राधे राधे। या पूछते हो कैसे चले आएंगे मुरारी, कौन सी सुनाए धुन लगे उन्हें प्यारी। बोल राधे चले आएंगे मुरारी, बोल राधे चले आएंगे मुरारी, बोल राधे। Thank you.
Beautiful. Very nice, Shefali. You guys have taken your Antakshari songs. Very well. Very nice. Good job.
Thank you.
Radhe,
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
2 more hands. So let's continue.
Yeah,
Rupa
Radhe
ji.
Radhe. Actually, my tone is not so good, but still I'm giving a good try. That's it.
Anne has started, so you'll do fine.
Yeah, then this is Telugu song actually. I know one of the Telugu song which I learned it from my mom.
Sure.
Nanda Gopala Sri Lolama Pahi Govardhano Tarakam Paryitinchadara Krishna Jagadishwara Mohanankara Ravi Mira. Narayana Keshava Deva Paramatma Muralidhara Narayana Keshava Deva Paramatma Muralidhara Garuda Gamana Hari Kamala Nayana Pari Pari Palimpa Jagilara Nanda Gopala Sri Lola Pahi Govardhano Darakam Barhi Pinchadara Krishna Jagadishwara Mohanankara Ravi Mira Karivara Damodara Dharma Samrakshadhanujantaka Karivara Damodara Dharma Samrakshadhanujantaka Padmanabha Hari Garuda Gamana Hari Kamala Nayana Pari Pari Palim Pajagelara Nanda Gopala Sri Lola Pahi Govardhano Darakam Barhi Pinchadara Krishna Jagadishwara Mohanankara Ravi Mira Mohanankara Ravi Mira. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Very nice, Rupa ji. So devotion has no language. So God names are God names, right? It reminded me of that tune, "E Malik Tere Bande Hum," right? I think it was.
Yeah, it is the same tune actually.
All right. My memory is-
Yeah, we have learned it from our childhood, and every of our family members know this song actually.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know your throat is not fine, but I'm glad you still took initiative and very nice.
Joining school, my throat is totally gone with the kids actually.
So it's good to recite God's names early in the morning. So great, very nice. Thank you very much. Last but not the least, yes, Ranjan ji, you want to sing along? Let's do that.
Yeah, actually, since we are discussing on Yagya, so let us have a prayer on the Yagya. Let us pray to the Yagya Bhagwan. So it goes like this. यज्ञ रूप प्रभु हमारे भाव उज्जवल कीजिए छोड़ देवे छल कपट को मानसिक बल दीजिए प्रभु मानसिक बल दीजिए वेदों की बोले ऋचाएं यज्ञ को धारण करें धर्म मर्यादा बुला कर लाभ दे संसार को नित्य श्रद्धा भक्ति से यज्ञादि हम करते रहे भावनाएं शुद्ध हो बे यज्ञ से नर नारी की हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलिए श्री राधा रमण भगवान की जय।
Nice. Great to end it with Krishna Mahamantra. Great. I think you all enjoyed the devotional rest. I think it's a good addition. So please prepare a few lines. It's always good to start with the shlokas and end with chanting. So always nice. Good way to wrap up the session as well. So I hope you're liking that. Please provide your feedback, what else we can do. But I'm loving it, to be honest. This Bhajan Kirtan edition that we have done towards the end as best as we can do. So thank you again for your enthusiastic participation and for the opportunity. We can do our closing prayers now. Yes, you wanted to add something, Payalji? Okay,
She
closing.
wants to, for closing prayer, she is the first today. Yeah.
Vinderji is probably lost out today. Okay, he's not there. Please go ahead.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow again. Tomorrow we'll talk about the different abodes that you can go to based on the different paths. And tomorrow we're going to have a presentation as well from one of the participants. So I'm looking forward to that.
Will we have Kahoot games tomorrow? I think.
Because we didn't cover enough, so maybe next week we'll do. Tomorrow we'll cover some theory and presentation. Kahoot will do the next time.
Thank you so much, Nitinji, for another awesome session. Thank you, everyone, for wonderful participation. Have a blessed day and blessed night. Thank you so much.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.